Thanks so much for joining me for this episode of the But First She Failed podcast. Does the idea of a personal brand sound like something only influencers can tap into? Or maybe when I say personal brand, it kind of overwhelms you because it seems like something very unattainable, something that you have no interest in? Or maybe you do have the desire to start your own personal brand, but you just haven't found the motivation or the time to do it in previous years. Well, the truth is, it's becoming more and more crucial to have a personal brand. And having a Facebook account that you started in 2005 with your family photos and your travel photos just won't cut it anymore. And in this episode, we're going to dive into the reasons why that is, right? It's crucial that you start your brand in 2025. And if you already have a brand, a personal brand, then that's great. I think this episode is going to serve as motivation to you. And you can actually send it to a friend or anyone that you think of that could use this information. And if not, I want you to listen in because I think it's just so important that you really get this in your heart and you start thinking of why this could be. Why is it important to have a personal brand in 2025, right? So without further ado, here are 7 reasons why it's crucial to start your personal brand in 2025. Before I get into the reasons why, I thought that it would be good to define what personal brand means, right? And what I looked it up on Google, and trusty Google, and what I found was that a personal brand is the process of defining and promoting what you stand for as an individual, right? Your personal brand is a culmination of experiences, skills, values that differentiate you. And I think that's a pretty accurate definition of what a personal brand is. Why does it matter? Why does it matter? Well, let's be honest. It's 2025 and I don't know about you, but I pretty much look up people and brands and businesses for pretty much everything, right? Everyone has a digital footprint these days. And if you'll be honest, and I'm being honest, I almost think it's suspicious when someone doesn't have one, right? If I take someone's name and I look for them on social media and they just don't exist, or it's a little bit suspicious to me nowadays, right? Just because even all of our aunts have a social media, they have Facebook accounts. Your Aunt Sally probably has a Facebook account. It's just more and more common that someone has some sort of digital footprint these days, right? For example, babysitters, I always look them up on social media. I want to see what they're about, all the things. Recruiters, they use social media as well. And I think back in the day, we all know this. It's been about 10 plus years where we started talking about this conversation of, oh my gosh, a recruiter's going to look you up on LinkedIn. Yes, but they're also going to look you up on Facebook and Instagram. And I remember 10 years ago hearing about like, you need to clean up your page and not have party photos and all that, which is true. But I also believe that now recruiters are also looking to see where you're at in life. What are you about? Do you have an Instagram account? Do you have a Facebook account? Do you have a family? Like they want to know a little bit more about you. And I think it is pretty suspicious when someone has no digital footprint or when they don't, when they don't have any of that, right? So I think that's very evident. I think it's evolved where it's like, it's not just looking at party photos and red flags. They're also kind of trying to see a little bit, gauge a little bit about you, right? But this is also true when you go to make a purchase in 2025. I don't know about you, but when I'm about to make a purchase, I look up a brand. I look them up on, yes, if I find someone recommends them, I look them up on social media. I look them up on all the places on Instagram, on maybe not Facebook, but I look them up on Instagram for sure. I go to TikTok and I want to see what people are talking about, the reviews of the product. This is true for a business. If a business doesn't even have a website nowadays, the truth is you're probably a sinking ship, or you're probably not doing that well, unless you have an established like legacy, like people that have been coming to your business. And this is probably only true if you are a boomer and you've had this business for 30 or at least 20 something years and you already have the clientele and it's like a local business. But if you are starting a business, if you are a new business, if you are not a boomer, you need to have a website, you need to have a digital profile and all those things. You need to have a personal brand, honestly. And if you want to take it to the next level, it just won't cut it anymore to just have a Facebook account. Every brand needs a person and needs a face to it. I heard it said years ago, and I thought that this was so true, that who can compete. This was years ago, so maybe a more accurate description would be an updated one. But who can bring down Facebook or Target or Walmart? It would be someone like Joanna Gaines, because she's a brand, she's a person, she's someone that, she had her Fixer Upper show back then. She was wildly popular and famous. And so that being said, it's like a personal brand is so crucial. And I think if you search your heart, you're going to realize, like, my gosh, like the people that you trust, the people that you buy from, the businesses, they usually have a personal brand behind them. So why Here are the reasons. That's why it's so important. But here are the reasons why it's so important to start your personal brand in 2025. Number one is you stand out in a crowded marketplace with millions of people sharing content online, and creating a personal brand really allows you to distinguish yourself from the crowd, right? It really makes you stand out from the competition, right? Because when you have a clear and clear and established and defined personal brand, you like people are going to know like they want to come to you or they want to go to that person, right? For the brand. For example, I'm thinking of last week we had a financial coach on the podcast, or a couple weeks ago, and even in that there's a bunch of financial coaches, but maybe as someone establishes their personal brand, you can say, my gosh, like she is Christian and she's Hispanic, I think she might be a better fit for me. Or maybe as someone, there's another financial coach that talks about stock markets and why stocks are it, and how to invest into stocks and how to grow your wealth that way. And they also are very much into holistic stuff. I don't know, when you have a very defined personal brand, it really defines who you are. It's kind of like a multifaceted thing, and then people can more clearly decide, do they want this option or do they want to go with you, right? So it helps you stand out. So if someone else is really good at stock markets and someone else is talking about real estate, but they're both helping you with your finances and grow your wealth in that way, you're going to be able to say, hey, I'm more interested in real estate, or hey, I'm more interested in stock market. What approach resonates with you, right? But that happens when you have a very specific, clear personal brand. So it helps you stand out in a marketplace is number one. That's if you're an entrepreneur. That's also, honestly, it also applies to corporate space, right? It helps you stand out in a crowded marketplace. Sometimes if you are, going for a position with someone else, and maybe you have a podcast on the topic and you're just, giving out information, and they can listen to your podcast about the topic of your, whatever career field you're in, and they might see or you speak on different panels, different things like that. It might help you stand out because now you have a personal brand that you're bringing with it. It makes you more desirable to a future employer. So there's many reasons, whether you're in corporate or an entrepreneur, or starting your side business now, your future dream business, it helps you stand out in a crowded marketplace. That is number one. Number two is it helps you build trust and credibility. This is so, so true because there's so much information out there. There's so many people talking, but a personal brand is a way to communicate your values, your expertise, your authenticity, who you are, and helps build credibility, right? It's if you show up consistently and talk about the same things online, it helps you build credibility with your audience, right? It helps people trust you, especially when you do long form content whatever your topic is, whatever you love to do in your, whatever your thing is, whatever your business you're in, whatever you're passionate about, whether it's a hobby, whatever that thing is, it helps you build trust and credibility, right? I'd rather go with someone that I have listened, and watch them on YouTube for a while, and I'm like, my gosh, like I heard 20 of her videos and I know how she is. I feel like I have more of I really like her personality. I feel like she's very trustworthy. Remember, people are buying from you. They are not buying from the brand, right? So what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to communicate or say when I say that is that people really buy from a person, right? So if they trust the person, then they'll trust the brand usually, right? So it helps you build trust and credibility when you have an online persona. For example, I'm thinking of, I know this one girl who is, I know a few real estate agents. I live in Miami. So we have, there's a joke that there's so many realtors that are in this area, so many people in real estate in this market. But what's really interesting is, as I'm bringing up this point, I'm thinking of a specific friend. She is so successful in her field as a realtor here in South Florida area. Her content is created around it. If you go to her Instagram, she's got a very, very large following. It's around, it's her, she shows her personality on there, but it's it's real estate stuff. Her stories have to do with what her weeks look like, with the different things that she does, or different business ventures or different projects. And I think it has helped build a lot of credibility, right? So I'm thinking, if I was not in Miami, if I was in DC and I came across her Instagram page and I want to buy a property in Miami, my gosh, because she has such a specific, she's consistent, she's genuine, and she shows up consistently on social media, I would reach out to her because I now trust her. I trust her more than just seeing a billboard on the side of a road if I'm in Miami, or going on Google and just seeing a random person. I'm going to trust her a lot more because I went to her Instagram page. I saw that she's got a lot of followers. I saw that she has a lot of content around the specific topic, and she's been around, and she showcases her expertise in this area, right? So it helps you build trust and credibility on whatever field you are doing, whatever is your lane. It helps you build credibility as well in that area. So that is number two. Number three is networking, right? So networking and opportunities, right? Your personal brand expands your network by showing what you stand for and what you can offer, right? I've said this time and time and again, but my gosh, there's so many opportunities that come when you start building your personal brand, right? Because people start asking you to speak on panels, people start asking you to go on coffee dates, people start asking you to do collaborations, people start asking you. It's just an open, like so many doors open to you when you start building that, right? So if you, I honestly think it's a better strategy than just going to, I remember like 10, when I was new in the TV industry or going into my career about 10 plus years ago, maybe 15 years ago, but it's been a while. I remember that I would go to a lot of social mixers and just like events like in my city and try to meet other professionals, try to meet other people and connect that way. And that is fun, especially when you're single and young. Yes, happy hour is great. Free drinks, free food, whatever. It sounds really fun, especially if you're a social person. I get it, right? But however, I think a better, more strategic approach to networking and opportunities is creating a personal brand about whatever, your thing is that is aligned with who you are, what your values are, and all the things that we've talked about previously. Why? Because people will be attracted to you. I saw this on TikTok a few weeks ago and I liked the video and I was like, yes, I agree with this. Some girl was, I don't know who the girl is really, but she was talking and she had a lot of followers. So I think it resonated with a lot of people. But what she was saying was make yourself attractive to the people that you want to network with. Don't just go and say like, hi, how are you? Let me know about yourself, which there's a time and a place for that. If you are in college, okay, you can do coffee dates with people in your profession, totally cool. But if you are not, if you are established, it would be, or if you've been in it for a few years, it makes more sense, or even if you're new, honestly, it makes more sense to build something like this, something like your personal brand, because now people, and talk about whatever you're an expert on, whatever you're passionate about, whatever your hobbies, whatever's aligned with who you are, because you're going to start attracting people. People are going to be gravitate towards you and want to have coffee date, like she mentioned, coffee dates, invite you to different things, invite you to speak on different things. And it's just great for networking opportunities. Whether it's job offers, you might get a job offer more likely because someone might see you and say like, whoa, I think she would be a great fit for this company. You get invited, like I said, collaboration, partnerships. A personal brand gives you visibility and connects you with like-minded individuals and organizations as well. So the networking opportunities are endless when you start building your personal brand. You just start getting so much more attention and things coming your way. And so that is number 3. Number 4 is career advancement. In 2025, as we've talked about on this podcast for many years, the career trajectory is not linear, right? We are not doing what our parents did or what generations previous to us did, where they stayed in a company for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. That's not the case for almost anyone, almost even Gen Xers. So maybe some of the parents of people that are listening on this podcast, or maybe you're a Gen Xer, but even they're staying only about 5 years in a company, maybe 7 years in a company. So staying in a company it's not necessarily linear, if you will. It's not like you're going to climb the corporate ladder usually at one company, right? But career advancement is, it shifted. It's a different approach nowadays. So career advancement is, like I said, it's a non-linear thing, and having a personal brand can open doors to freelance work, to consulting gigs, to speaking engagements, to full-time opportunities, giving you control over your career trajectory, right? So like I mentioned, a recruiter might see you and be more attracted to you because you have your personal brand online. You've created this, you've created this brand. You talk about your expertise. You show consistency. You show persistence, you show commitment through that. There's a lot of values and qualities and characteristics in an employee that, recruiters might see or companies might see when you build your personal brand around something. And not only that, also as someone that's looking, if you are an entrepreneur, people see that you are able to manage multiple things. It's more attractive, right? So that is definitely another one. So there's more career advancement opportunities when you create your personal brand. It's almost endless, right? It's not something that's going to hinder your growth. It's actually going to accelerate your growth, right? So that is number 4. Number 5 is content creation and monetization. This one is a fun one. Like platforms like YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, personal brands have become monetizable, right? You can turn your personal brand into a business, whether through sponsored content, through affiliate marketing, selling your own products and services, personal brand. You can create, a platform with, in where you generate income, right? Where you are talking about something you love, something that's aligned with your personal brand, right? Because your personal brand, side note, I don't think I mentioned it at the top, but your personal brand is not something that you are curating and it's going to be a fake thing. No. as the podcast, I always talk about this. It has to be authentic with who you are. You have to love this thing. I talked about it in last week's episode. You have to love this thing, because if you do not have passion for this, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it at 2 a.m. You're not going to do it on the weekends. You're not going to take time out from your social life to do it. You're not going to put boundaries around birthday parties and different events to do this thing. So you have to love it, right? So with that being said, this is going to be an extension of who you are. The brand that you are creating, the personal brand that you're creating, is an extension of who you are, of your values, of what makes you different, your unique experiences, like it said in the definition at the top of this episode, right? So you can, it's gonna align with who you are, and things are going to be attracted to you as far as commercials. If you have a YouTube, like different ads are going to be placed that are going to be aligned with your brand, right? Which for example, I recently started a YouTube channel. As you guys know, if you've been listening for a long time, you know that this podcast recently went on YouTube. So the last month and a half, maybe 2 months, we started putting the last 5 episodes or so are now on YouTube. So now you can watch any and every episode on YouTube, and remember to subscribe there. Why do I say that? With all transparency, because once you get to a certain number on YouTube, you start getting paid, right? So to the point of what I'm trying to make is that's even one of my goals, right? The more, and I'm with you guys because I'm on this journey with you guys, and I always mention this, right? Once you get to a certain number on YouTube, you start getting paid for it, right? They start paying you to put ads on your episodes, right? Because people watch it, all of the things, right? So and that's what the journey that I'm on, and that's why I'm saying it's a great journey, and I recommend it to anyone that's in the process or interested in that. But so remember, if you love this podcast, remember to subscribe. I'm gonna throw that in there. But it's a great way. So, and what's really cool about this opportunity with creation and monetization, content creation and monetization, is no matter what you're doing, whether it's gardening, whether it is, Pilates or whatever, it can be the most niche and random thing. And you're like, who would even listen to this, a podcast about this, or who would even listen to a YouTube channel about this? Believe me, there's an audience for it. And the more niche it is, the more the companies that are specifically aligned with that will be attracted to you. I heard it on a podcast episode about a year ago, and it stuck with me. It's like, it can be so niche and so specific. For example, the example that they used was a guy that does, I think he sells boat parts, like boat motor parts. And he has a podcast about this very topic. And guess who wants to work with him and what brands want to work with him? Boat companies, right? Boat motor companies, because he'll promote their boats, or boat retailers, or wholesale boat sellers, I guess is the word. But I thought it was so interesting because it's such a niche thing that unless you're in that world, you don't care about it. But guess what? If you love that thing, then it's going to be a perfect commercial. So it's going to be very specific and aligned. So there's a lot of opportunity for whether it's a hobby, whether it's your career, there's so many opportunities in this, right? So it's important that you start your personal brand and start, creating content around that so you can monetize it and make extra money. That can be your side hustle, where whatever thing that the random hobby that you love, you can create a side hustle around that, right? So that is number 5. Number 6 is resilience and changing times. This one is so crucial, and I really wanted to throw this one in here because as the times change, as it's 2025, and I've been seeing this for the last 6-7 years, I've seen friends that are ahead of the trend, and they've started their networks, or they started their content creation, their channels, their Instagram following, their personal brand. They've started their personal brand years ago, and I see how the work that they put in 10 years ago, 7 years ago, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, how it's paying off today. And I've also seen some friends that have not done that. Maybe they've had the dream, or they just it never occurred to them. But I've also seen how they are working a little bit harder for the same things. And I'm not knocking anyone. If you have an amazing corporate career and you love it, and this doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. But I am saying that as times change, I think it's becoming more and more important that we do have a personal brand, that we are able to have this to fall back on, right? Because the truth is, even if you love your job at whatever major Fortune 500 company you work at, or top creme de la creme in your industry, it's not a given. You don't know. New leadership could come in tomorrow. You could have a new manager that comes in, maybe not a CEO, but a new manager that comes in, and all of a sudden you don't love your job. I had a friend that happened to about 2 years ago. She was thriving in the company. She loved it. As a major company. And then a new manager came in, and all of a sudden her job became miserable. She started really disliking her job a lot, so much so that it made her eventually leave her position, right? And that happens time and time again, and I've seen that happen so often. So I think that, resilience in changing times, I think as you create your content, as you create your personal brand, it's going to give you something to fall back on, right? It's something that you're building on the side where you can have something to fall back on, whether it's a side business, a complete side business, or just that you've already showcased your expertise in an area, you've already grown it, you've already positioned yourself where other companies are looking at you like, hey, I want to hire this girl. Or maybe you're starting to get asked to speak on panels, and maybe you're pivoting and becoming a teacher in whatever sector, whatever industry you're in, right? There's a lot of opportunities there, but it's really something that gives you an edge. And as we become more and more digital, I think it's more and more common that everyone's on TikTok, at least watching or consuming it. More and more people are on Instagram. More and more people are consuming social media and videos and so much more. And it's just something that I feel like you can't change it. It's not something you can either get with the times or you can get left behind. And my heart is, I do not want you to get left behind. So I want you to take advantage of this opportunity and start building your personal brand right now so that you can have more resilience as the times change, because we're getting more. I saw this prediction about 4 or 5 years ago. I remember seeing like everything's moving towards video. Everything is moving towards video. And guess what? 3 years ago, I was just an audio only podcast, and I had to get with the times. I had to move towards video, right? Because that's where the times are going. And you always want to stay competitive. You want to stay ahead of the edge. Something that I've also seen over the last however many years with my husband and with his businesses and with other entrepreneurs and other business owners that I know is that you can either stay in the same. If something works, great. I'm so happy that it works in this year, right? But what I've seen time and time again is if you do not reinvent yourself, if you do not stay ahead of the edge, and if you do not if you don't start learning and getting ahead of the trends, then guess what? You're going to get left behind. And I've seen that happen time and time again with businesses where they were really successful 5 years ago, or brands too. They were really thriving 5 years ago, but they didn't evolve. They didn't change. They didn't get with what consumers want and what was needed in the following years. They didn't change their model. They just stayed in what they were good at. And then they got left behind and they're forgotten now, and I don't want that for you. So I think it's really important, and, it's resilience in changing times. That is another reason why it's so important that you start your personal brand in 2025, because you need to stay ahead of the curve, right? And it's going to give you something to fall back on in case things change with your business, things change with your company, you want to pivot. It helps you, right? It's never a lost thing, right? So that is number 6. Number 7, influence and impact. A well-established personal brand gives you a voice and a potential to influence trends, industries, and even social issues. You can use your platform to advocate for causes you care about, creating a positive impact and resonating with your audience on a deeper level. This is so, so true. So you could even create, even if it's not something that you want to make money off of, even if that's not your heart, but there's an issue that you care so deeply about and you're an expert in that, I would advise you to start creating your personal brand in that, right? Whether it's something that you want to be an advocate for, something that you just want to give your time to because you are so passionate, it breaks your heart, do that. Even if you have a lucrative corporate job that you love and you never want to leave, do that, because now you're going to be able to pour in to help other people. And the reality is, purpose, people that are full of purpose, they're people that not only do they make a lot of money, or maybe they actually let me take that back. In order to have purpose, you don't necessarily need to make a lot of money, but you do, what I've seen time and time again, to live a purpose-filled life. When you ask someone, do you feel like you're living in your purpose? What matters truly is impact. How much impact are they making with other people, right? So it's so important that you build your personal brand in 2025, because you can have impact, not only influence, because yes, influence is great. It's, it's the bells and whistles, it's glamorous, or so people think, right? To have influence is very glamorous thing, but you can also make impact, right? You can also be having impact on people that need it. You can also, your voice can be getting out there. You can be advocating for people that do not have a voice, that are lost, that are maybe not understanding of how to navigate certain things in these times. So it's so important that you create your personal brand, for whether it's influence, whether it's impact. Another thing about influence that I wanted to add is, a lot of us think that we don't have influence, or maybe it's a self-esteem thing, and we're like, I could never do it. I don't think I can have a lot of influence. That is not true. You always have influence, whether it's with the people around you, whether it's just with your family, you have influence, or if it's with friends or people, people that work with you at your job or people elsewhere. It's really important that you take this in, that you do have influence, right? It's just how big do you want your influence circle to be, right? And with a personal brand, if you have this much influence, you have influence around your best friends, maybe the moms at your school or your children, your spouse and all that. But if you want to expand your influence, starting a personal brand is a perfect way to do that. So there you have it. Those are 7 reasons why it's crucial to start your personal brand in 2025. And please take this with, it's my heart's desire that you act on this and you move forward, because I want the best for you in 2025. I want the best for you in 2026. And I think so much greatness can come from you starting your personal brand in 2025, whatever that is, whether it's for impact, whether it's for just for purpose, or whether you want to start money, you want to start a side business, or you just want more opportunities in your industry or your business to make, more sales and, help more people, whatever that looks like. I think it's crucial that you start your personal brand in 2025. So there you have it. Those are 7 reasons why it's crucial to start your brand in 2025. Thanks so much for joining us and have a great day.